Okay, you guys, let's talk about this amazing Dallas modern living room that we did for that precious family in Highland Park. And when you're designing a modern room, it seems like it could be really easy, but to me, it's kind of tricky because there really isn't a whole lot to hide behind if you make mistakes. The pieces that you pick really have to be the precise choice because you want it to feel like a living, breathing piece of sculpture. At least I do. We love the architect that they used to build this house, and I really wanted to honor his very angular, modern, slick, hard lines. But I thought, wouldn't it be nice to introduce a little bit of softness into the room, very subtly, that you probably didn't even notice. So here are some of the little behind-the-scenes tips that went into this room. I think this lamp is amazing. I love it that it feels like a sculpture in its own right, and I loved that sphere just balancing perched there on that piece of brass. And I wanted to bring something to echo it onto this side of the fireplace without feeling matchy-matchy. And so we'll talk about this in a minute, but we created a piece of art using two very off-the-rack kind of porcupine quilly things. And we put one on the top and one below, and now that kind of creates a circle here and a circle here. We reintroduce another subtle curve here in the back of this chair. I love how these lines echo what's happening in that little porcupine piece and echo the balusters and the stairs, but this subtle curve is also softening the space a bit. And then the art that we picked was very soft. It almost feels like a whisper of smoke or some fog. And I thought that that really gave the room a gentle, softer quality. When you're looking at a room from an angle outside the space like this, where there's a big open run, a great design tip is to pick a chair that has a really interesting back. Something that has an interesting profile because it kind of draws you into the room. It's the first thing you see, and it kind of feels sculptural in its own right. The next thing that we did was we balanced the only color in the room, which was green. We put a piece of green art here and balanced it with this big, huge tree that feels like a huge piece of sculpture in the room. And if you look at it from this angle, there's that beautiful wispy kind of smoky art there that balances the tree. But let's talk about the art that we made. Taking off the rack pieces of art is just a great way to stretch a dime, but then make it your own. So often you see these porcupine things hung in a cluster on a room, and I thought, why not make this ledge feel like an art installation? And this was a very tricky, under-stair, niche, what do you do with it? And so we started to play with different pieces, and I love these men. Normally you see them hung vertically, and I thought, let's turn them on their ear, literally, and make them almost look like a flock of birds flying. And once we had them like this, I thought, that's just kind of boring. Let's just make one guy go to the beat of his own drummer. And it really does make it feel like a beautiful art installation that you could have commissioned, but again, it's kind of echoing the lines of the stairs, so it fits perfectly. Little tip. The next thing that we did with this room is I wanted to show it two ways. One that's going to come in with art a little bit above $10,000, and then one where money's no object. So this is where you decided to turn the gold card platinum. This is what you would do if you were wanting to stay in budget. And again, you can see that there's really not that much different, really. We just switched out the light, we switched out these little tables, and we switched out the chair. The sofa and the chaise are a little bit of a different line, but you kind of can't tell. So here it is, money's no object. And here it is if you're trying to stay in budget. So think about this when you're buying pieces. You want pieces that can serve more than one function, and we talk about that in the design guide, but I really wanted to show you guys a way to think about a room from a modern perspective, and maybe you'll have fun creating this in your own house. How long was that? Okay, you guys. What's up with the crazy eyes? Are you... Hang on. What?